Hi, welcome back to the Harpreet Singh Show, and this is Tania's Truth Talk. I want to thank you guys for tuning in last Saturday night, and thank you for your feedback, and continue to call in and feedback and give me more of your feedback. Today we've got a little bit of an interesting dialogue we're going to get into. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the media lately about exotic dancing and the recruitment of exotic dancers in the high schools and into colleges. Now, as many of you may know, this is something that I am completely dead set against. I feel that it is detrimental that we raise public awareness on these issues. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Bridget Perry. Her exotic dance name is Becca Banks. She's been a headliner feature dancer for over 5 years, and she is currently still a dancer, and she is here today to share the hardcore, straight facts. She's going to be hardcore about it. She's going to be speaking truth. Some of you may like it, some of you may not, but you know what? This is Tania's Truth Talk, and I'm here to bring the truth to you. So we're going to welcome Becca Banks to the show.
Hi.
Hello. Well, I know you as Bridget.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that see you know you as Becca Banks.
Yep.
So you've been into dancing now for about 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And why don't you tell me a little bit more about your background and how you got into exotic dancing and what led you into this, because you know we're here now, we want to shed some light on this dark industry of exotic dancing, which can ultimately lead to prostitution and death, as you know, that we're going to get into that later in the segment.
Well, how I got into dancing?
Yeah.
Well, I started out dancing because I had this job that was, they like totally screwed me over. It was a waitress job, and so I was dating this black guy that I met at a concert, and he basically was like, "Oh, you quit your job, and here's another job that will be good for you." So
he told you it was good for you?
Yeah, he told me I'd make lots of money, and I went to this strip club where they taught you how to dance, and he's like, "Don't worry, like this is where all the new girls go." And
now, when you first got into exotic dancing, did you realize that there were a lot of other young girls there, like freshly of age?
Well, yeah, that's the place where I started dancing. It's where all the fresh girls go, and that's where all the really creepy guys like to go, because that's where all the fresh girls are, you know?
Right.
So I started off with like the creepiest of creeps, just wanting to see the fresh new meat on the market.
Really? You know what? It's really ironic that you say that, because you know, with me being a former madam, I've had hundreds and hundreds, I've had fleets of girls that have come to me to work as prostitutes. But they started out, many of them, as exotic dancers. And I am now trying to be a voice saying this is so wrong, because a lot of these girls get into exotic dancing thinking it's just to pay for my school or my tuition, just as like the stuff that's all over the media today.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, they're putting in ads in the paper saying, hey, come and dance for us and we'll pay your tuition, and they're recruiting these young girls. So you're currently involved still in exotic dancing, and you're coming forward now. So you're being very brave and very bold, because you could get a lot of flack for this.
Yeah.
But you're coming and you're going to say the whole truth of what it's really like. It's not really glamorous, is it?
No, it's not.
So you go to work, you put on all your feathers and your lace and your outfit, because you're a headliner, feature dancer.
Yeah.
And you're putting on a show.
Yeah.
But what are you really feeling towards these people when you're dancing?
Well, first I have to, you know, have a couple shots or do a rail in order to, like, you know,
so
have the confidence to...
So you have to drink and you have to do drugs in order to get confident to go on stage.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. I mean, that's not always the case, but a lot of the times that is the case.
Right.
I'll go through phases where I try and not do that, and then at the end of the day, I end up slipping back into my old habits.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that it's hard to exotic dance on stage if you don't do some drugs or alcohol to take the edge off?
Yeah. Before I go on stage, I always like to do like 3 shots of tequila, just so I can handle all these, like, there's all these creepy ogling eyes that are just like drooling at you when you go on stage, and you know, I'm so disgusted by it. And if I don't drink before I go on stage, I'm not interactive with the audience at all, and I don't smile, and I just kind of look like I don't want to be up there.
So do you find that affects your money that you're making, because you got to hustle for your money? So the more of a smile and a show you put on, the more tips you're going to make, right?
Yeah.
So that's affected by the drugs. That takes the edge off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say to the viewers that are watching today, you know, with all the stuff that's going on in the news where strip club owners are going into the high schools, they're going into the college, and they're recruiting these young girls, what would you say about these laws, and what would you say about to any young girl that is watching tonight who's thinking of getting into exotic dancing to pay for her tuition? What would you say to her?
I would say that's the worst idea ever, because my best friend died because she was trying to pay her way through school by stripping and ended up doing lots of drugs and drinking and killed herself. So I would say that that isn't the way. I would say, I don't know. Sorry, drawing a blank here.
That's okay. I mean, I know that this, you probably drew a blank because
yeah.
it was the topic of Zoe.
Yeah.
And Zoe was a very dear friend of mine as well. And I actually met you through the death of Zoe.
Yeah.
And Zoe had gotten into exotic dancing. She was a straight A student, and she needed to pay her tuition. And I remember so many times she was telling me how difficult it was to pay for her school, but she was a straight A student. She wanted to get an education. We're talking a girl going to BCIT here.
Yeah.
And she couldn't handle the fact of exotic dancing and that, which she ended up doing drugs and then ultimately couldn't handle it anymore and got into a deep depression, and she hanged herself.
Yeah.
You were her best friend.
Yeah. We'd known each other for like 16 years.
Now,
and it's I'm kind of responsible for her getting into stripping too, because I was like those recruiters. I kind of recruited Zoe. Zoe was like, I want what you have. I want nice things. And she's like, how do you do it? I was like, dancing. And I told her that she should start dancing I didn't tell her to, but she wanted to.
Right.
Because she was already
she needed the money.
Yeah.
Right.
She was a little bit rebellious too, like all of us girls are, and she wanted to. And so she asked me to help her, and I did, and I wish I didn't.
Yeah, because Zoe's dead now.
Yeah.
But you know what? We can use that to bring some light, to shed on this dark industry, because so many young girls, they get into exotic dancing and they see all the glamour, like it's a Vegas, you know, and a lot of girls want to grow up and be a princess.
Yeah.
Right? And they think exotic dancing is fun.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
not.
what I thought.
You thought it was that too?
Yeah. When I was 17, I had this boyfriend, and I saw a friend that had become an exotic dancer, and I was like, I want to be an exotic dancer. He's like, if you ever became an exotic dancer, I'd leave you. No one would ever respect you. And I was like, but it's so glamorous, like da da da. And
you know, it's kind of ironic that you say that too, because once, I tell young girls this so many times, once you have crossed that line and you've become an exotic dancer, or you've become a prostitute, escort, or what have you, once you have crossed that line, that society brands you. Even with myself, I'm a former prostitute, I'm a former madam. It doesn't matter if I go on and become a brain surgeon. I'm not going to be known as Tania the brain surgeon or Tania as an author. No, she used to be a prostitute. Yeah. You've branded yourself once you've crossed that line. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way that society is. So how would you feel now, like when you're still in this? How is this affecting your life?
Everyone just thinks I'm a drug addict stripper, and they don't pay attention to really the other healthy things that I do, like a normal person, because basically I've branded myself as a stripper.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like a stripper.
Yeah.
It makes me feel sad because
you know,
I don't think it's glamorous at all. I think it's horrible. I have nothing to show for any of all this hard work I've done. I've made over like $1.5 million, and I'm $20,000 in debt.
And that's because a lot of these dancers and girls that are in prostitution, the money comes so fast, they don't know how to budget.
Yeah.
You know, because you can go spend your money and the next day you can make another $1,000 or $2,000, right?
Yeah.
So from your experience from other exotic dancers that you're working with on the circuit and stuff like that, would it be fair to say that you're not the only one with this kind of an opinion?
Yeah, of course.
What do the other dancers tell you?
Most of the other dancers tell me about how their pimps take all their money and beat them at night, and
Yes.
I live in Toronto, so there's a higher majority of pimped out strippers there.
Okay, so a lot of girls that do get into exotic dancing, it's fair to say that they do get pimped, and this is so good that you say this, because I tell so many people that exotic dancing is a gateway to prostitution, And if you're being prostituted, you're either working for a criminal organization, if you're working in a brothel, or you're being pimped.
Yeah.
So thanks for, you know what, we're gonna get into the real meat and potatoes of this after the commercial break.
Okay.
So hang on there. So you guys do not want to miss this. There's a lot more to come. We're going to get into the meat and the potatoes of exactly what is really involved in exotic dancing and prostitution, and why we as a nation must take a stand and say no and seek justice in regards to this. These are our children. What does this say for our future generations? Tune in after the commercial break.